This episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast is brought to you in part by No Judges Needed BJJ Apparel and Lavender Lane CBD products. You can use the promo code JJT for 20% off your first order at No Judges Needed, and the code JJTimes20, all uppercase. Last two items are numerical for 20% off your first order of CBD products. Thank you very much for sticking with us. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast. I am your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Gallagher. We just got done roasting my haircut. The barber went a little too short, and now I look like Mike Pence, but it's okay. We're going to keep rolling.
It's like one of those memes. Like, what are you looking for? I'm thinking about Mike Pence. I got you, fam.
No. Hey, man, I want Mike Pence. We have Mike Pence at home. Mike Pence at home.
Mike Pence at home. That's great. That's great.
Oh, getting political in the first 2 seconds.
That's
but
right.
BJJ Woodstock wrapped up. We just had Austin Daffron on. But other than that, how are you doing, man?
Good, man. Another busy week. Been cranking out my my writing and stuff. I got another article I'm about to drop for Aces. Doing another interview right after this. I need to start editing some stuff for you guys for the Jiu-Jitsu Times. I got to get on that. I want to start editing some more of these things.
Yeah.
Then I watched Matt Favola.
Yeah, I gave my 2 weeks at my part-time gig because I need to. Well, they wouldn't give me nights, and I haven't been able to train at all. And they're like. I was supposed to be working all day, and then have nights off, but they changed it up, and it is what it is.
Are you still doing the marketing stuff for with you? Yeah. So
I've been doing a lot more social media work, and it's been good. Life is starting to put itself back together in different areas of the country, but excuse me, people are still acting kind of crazy, and so we've got a lot of stuff that we'll be able to talk about.
Oh yeah.
What did you want to start with?
Man, we got a few cool things on the docket. We definitely have to get into Seth Daniels, Ryan McGuire. That's just there's so many different layers to that onion to start to peel away, but we can get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, let's just I know we got the sad one, kind of a sad one, just because this is a guy that's had a troubled road after his professional career wrapped up, and even during his professional career. We got Mayhem Miller in the news again. Sorry about that. Chrome is a bit wickety wonkety, and I gotta close out of some stuff real quick. But yeah, so Mayhem Miller in the news again for burglary and grand theft auto, which is damn. What is your opinion on Mayhem? Overall?
I always lean towards the CTE side. You look at a guy like Mayhem Miller that is already on the fringes of antisocial, just based upon his personality and probably from his upbringing, probably had some kind of troubled childhood. I'm not really sure about his background particularly, but he gives me the allure of some kind of counterculture personality, punk rock personality that fought that stay away from the conformity of society type thing. And when you start to add in the CTE issues and the brain traumas that he probably surely accrued through a lifetime of martial arts, it's not too hard to start to connect the dots as to why he has become what he's become. One of the biggest problems with CTE is impulse controls. And when you're dealing with someone that is already on the fringes of fuck society, screw society, it doesn't take too long to start going past the point of normal. You can be an anarchist, I guess. It's a catchy word right now, but it's not the same anarchist that you guys might think. But you could be an anarchist at heart as long as you still walk within the lanes of the normal society. I mean, you can't go out and start living the life he's living because it starts to catch up to you. And it's sad. It's pretty sad because this time he's in trouble. He was already out on probation for domestic violence. He violated his probation. It's one after the other after the other. This time he's going to do some serious time.
Yeah, and like disorderly conduct, vandalization. You know, like he's had a lot of very public and violent run-ins, and it sucks because he was such a huge figure in MMA for such a long time, not just in the U.S. but abroad. He fought in Pride, I believe. I think that's where was it Dream where he fought I think it was Dream where he fought Sakuraba, and he was just this submission artist. He was an incredible competitor, and it sucks for me too because he also ran that show Bully Beatdown for a few years, and that was one of the first.
That was a good show.
That was one of my first instances of learning about MMA. Was watching that show just because a friend of mine at school was like, "Hey man, you got to take a look at this. Like there are these guys that will just get bullies to come onto the show and then they'll beat the shit out of them." And as a guy that was bullied, I'm like, "Holy crap, this is the best. How could this be legal? There's no way."
You know, it's equally saddening and equally disheartening to see someone like Mayhem, who was a hero to a lot of people. A lot of people looked up to Mayhem Miller in the early days of MMA because, he was a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, but he also had a personality. He used to come out in the mask and kind of do his little dance, and he connected to, the audience. And then he had the charisma to be on television shows. I remember watching him coaching. I think he went against GSP, actually. Bisping, right? Bisping, that's right. I remember seeing him coaching, on the Ultimate Fighter. And, he's an intelligent guy, great personality, loves the camera loves him. But you start to see the devolving or de-evolution of his brain capacities due to CTE. And it's sad to see someone like this go the route they're going because he's not this person. But unfortunately, it's more than he can handle. Then you start throwing in they showed some issues of him on TRT and human growth hormone, all those other things. All those things fucking with your hormones are just a classic cocktail, and it's all a result of the CTE. It just fucks with your whole.
Well, I think also about the time in which he was like seeing the most success in MMA. Think about when he was doing his best work, when he was really competing and showcasing what he could do, and where he was doing it. He was one of the earlier stars, not like super early, but definitely before it reached mainstream
UFC boom. It was right in that kind of right.
Pre Ultimate Fighter, pre TV deals with Spike.
Right.
He was doing his thing in Japan and Asia, and it was very unregulated. So people were taking everything, and there was no oversight as to if this is a good idea. Yeah. And the rule set. He was getting soccer kicked in the head.
Right. It's brutal. Those old Pride fights were brutal. 10-minute rounds, first round, and then they went down to 5 or 3 for the next rematch. They were brutal fights. Pride was.
Yeah, and you're looking at, we're talking about Jason because he's such a big name, but think about all those undercard guys from back in the day.
100%.
Where are they?
100%.
What are they doing? And it's very. As a fan and being reminded of how far the sports had to come, and everyone's like, Pride never die, and Pride was great, and it was some of the best fights in history. But there was some things that needed to change.
Kev, I keep saying this, and I'll continue to say this because you're talking to someone that has dealt with some issues from CTE from boxing. I've had some problems with the same things that Mr. Mayhem Miller is going through. We're starting to see, because again, the UFC and MMA is kind of a young sport, and the issues that Mayhem is starting to display, they take a little while to start to cultivate in the brain. When you're young, you just kind of push through that shit and you don't really think about it because you're so young and virile and you're just moving on. When you start to get in your mid 40s, early 40s, late 30s, they really start to see this stuff happen and materialize in what we're starting to see now. The UFC world and the MMA world is starting to see stars that were once these great people that's been around long enough to see the long-term effects the same way boxing has and the same way professional football has. I think we're unfortunately I hate to say this, but I really believe we're going to start seeing more cases similar to Mr. Miller. Chris Stevens, another
not
one.
not even in terms of just crime specifically, but look at BJ Penn. Look at how his career ended. How we had to see him slowly lose like his speed and his cognitive ability in the cage. And then it ended with him getting into public bar fights. It was it was ugly, and less so in competition. But those people comparing current Nick Diaz interviews to when he was first starting out, and how much like different he sounded. How he used to be able to put like sentences together a lot quicker, and now it's like an entirely different person. He doesn't even sound the same. Like his voice is different.
Yeah,
and not that much time's passed.
Yeah, that leads to another discussion why fighters are fighting so hard to get paid more by the UFC is because that $100,000, $200,000 you're making in the short term, it doesn't really pay for what you're going to deal with in the long term. When you're a professional fighter, you're going to have problems. You're going to have lifelong problems that haunt you forever. And again, it's not even about the fighting. It's about the training. It's about all the stuff you put into it. You get dinged up all the time, just sparring. So yes, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how you solve it. It's just something that needs to be addressed and something that needs to be recognized, because I feel very bad for Mayhem Miller. I've seen interviews with him, and it's just like, whoa. Wow.
Now I do want to put out there that we're not trying to excuse all the bad stuff that he's done on whatever might be affecting him mentally. That's important, because he is responsible for his actions. He made a lot of choices, and they led him to where he is now. And it's not very fair, but he's still doing bad things. And so I feel like we got to talk a little bit about the fact that the celebrity and the human story can never outshine whatever bad stuff he's doing.
Right. Yeah. There's one that's the thing. You don't get excused. You don't say, well, he has these problems. Poor Mayhem Miller. There's so many different layers to this that need to be discussed. It's we live in a society predominantly by we talk about mostly males or fighters. There's this big feeling of male. Fine, we're fine. I don't need to talk about things. I don't need to look for help. I don't need to ask for answers. I could just push through this and move on with my life. And mental health, you just can't push through that, man. You're talking to someone that, trust me, that's been through that gambit. You need to talk to someone. You need to look. You need to seek help, and you need to start working your way through this, because your ability to cognitively discern between right and wrong starts to dissipate, particularly from CTE and from fighting. And I hate to sound so morbid, because I love fighting. I have a love-hate relationship with the sport, believe me, because I see what happens. But things need to be addressed and understood. Mayhem Miller should have never been allowed to get this far, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big reasons that I always stick closer to jiu-jitsu, and why I prefer like covering and writing about jiu-jitsu, just because, you could suffer a lot of really dangerous injuries in jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of risk there, but it's your brain is often left untouched.
I'll take a broken leg over a broken brain any day.
I mean, that's a lot of people might not make that choice, but I like the fact that it's your choice to make.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. All right. And
yeah, right.
Not exactly. Not exactly transitioning into a nicer topic.
Right.
Caio Terra recently took to social media to announce that his academy is closed after repeatedly getting fined by the state. Yeah, well, this is just a continuation of more of the stuff we've seen in a COVID America, in a COVID world, just massive academies, seeming pillars of the sport starting to crumble a little bit, starting to really feel the wear and tear about this. I don't know. How do you feel about this,
So
man?
I read that article. I'm not. What state is it in? Do you remember what state it was? I didn't see what state. I don't know if they even mentioned what state it was. I'm
Was it
assuming
Nevada?
California or Nevada maybe. Yeah, wherever they're a little more stringent. But the way I read the article is this is not necessarily Caio Terra losing everything in his gym, dissolving.
Yeah, he's okay. So just
it's a temporary shutdown.
Temporary. It is not permanently closed. He
Right.
has closed it after being threatened with massive $5,000 fines by the state.
Right.
And he has said in his post that he will reevaluate over the next 45 days.
Right.
And he will then, he will then release a statement as to what the future is going to look like, what he can do going forward for his students. And that's where he is. That is the most recent.
And it's still reflective of our society right now, though. Like I'm lucky enough to live in Florida, and again, it's the Wild West down here. Like, and we also have a UFC exemption at our gym, so we get to train with the UFC fighters, which allows me to continue doing jiu-jitsu on a fairly regular basis throughout the course of this. My training wasn't affected in the very early stages. I couldn't train, but I'm training.
It is also just because I just looked it up. San Jose, California. That's where.
Okay, yeah, California.
Yeah.
They're not going to let any of that shit go.
Yeah.
But it's sad. It concerns me in the realm of breaking down the new jiu-jitsu renaissance that has developed over the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years, where the explosion of jiu-jitsu has becoming, what it is now with professional jiu-jitsu competitions and excitement about the sport, people tuning in, people signing up to do jiu-jitsu for that regard. But it also, if you talk about the long term, the longer the economy closes down, are these gyms going to be able to stay open simply because students are no longer going to be able to afford to train? I mean, jiu-jitsu is not cheap. It's, wherever you go, it's $150, $200 a month to get a jiu-jitsu membership. And if people are losing their jobs, losing their sources of income, not making enough, as much as I love jiu-jitsu, as much as I believe it's a vital part of my life, it's still a luxury item. It's still something that you're saying at the end of the month, okay, can I pay my bills? Can I pay my electric? Can I pay my fucking water? Can I eat, feed my kids? Okay, jiu-jitsu after that. So lots of things concern me about the state of the world we're in right now.
I don't know what this looks like state by state. I know how it looks in the tri-state area here in the Northeast. I know that a lot of people have found ways to open their school up. A lot of people are just opening their school. Like it's like the protocols are kind of thrown out the window. Like it's back to where it usually is. Just class sizes are smaller. That is definitely being enforced. And I think a lot of places have worked things out with whatever county law enforcement they deal with. And, I usually like to travel around a lot to see what, other gyms are like, but I haven't done that in a while, even before quarantine. It is weird to see, though, these places being shut down just because, jiu-jitsu, the margins are always so thin, razor thin margins you're dealing with. And that could even be said of the people that have a real name like Caio to back up their school, like Gary. I'm sure he would be open with the fact that, it's not exactly easy maintaining a steady stream of students that are not going to flake. The retention rate is so small, and people care enough to cancel when it comes time. Like you're not getting a lot of people that are allowing this because, Planet Fitness, you sign up, it's $10 a month. You don't go for a while. You might not notice that $10, and a lot of places are banking on that to sucker you in and then, and then just sort of let it be derelict. And then you remember you've been paying for it. And then
$200 makes a dent.
Yeah. Like over time, but jiu-jitsu, it's so immediate that you pay attention to it and you make sure to cancel and you make sure to do all this stuff or freeze the accounts for when you can come back. Yeah. It's alarming for me as a fan of jiu-jitsu to see these, like, the pillars of the institution be unable to operate.
Yeah.
And
it's concerning for the future.
Yeah, and no one has really solved for X yet. No one's really figured out, because this looks so different depending on who your governor is. It looks different depending on what the infection rates in your area are like. And also the makeup of your school. If your school happens to be primarily kids, people might be a little bit more cautious and pull them just because kids are more at risk. You know, if your gym is more older people, they might be out just because they're at risk. I feel like the average makeup of a jiu-jitsu school is pretty much the same, but I would need to look at that data. It's terrifying though.
Yeah, it's frightening. And, you know, it's the thing about opening a jiu-jitsu school is it's not easy. You know, it's nothing. It's hard. You got to run a business. You know, believe me, I have looked into opening a gym up, and I know lots of my partners, Sonny Parlin, Matt Arroyo, Rob DeNorfie, all my friends that own gyms, and like they look me in the face sometimes and they say to themselves, like, I start to hate jiu-jitsu because like when you open a gym, you think, oh, this is gonna be awesome. I'm just gonna do jiu-jitsu all day.
I'm gonna get high in the back room and watch The Simpsons, like chill with my bros.
Teach the classes. No, man, you start to realize, no, you're gonna have to run after school programs. You're gonna have to turn it into a daycare. You're gonna be running like Friday night date nights and have people working for you and figuring out how to pay the bills. And just like, you know, just like Draze was talking about on that interview when we interviewed him, you got to do SEOs and you got to set up marketing platforms and all this other shit like that, man. It's a business and it's not easy.
Yeah, but that's why I almost wanted to just like, man, that was one of those things that Joe Rogan tried to say that got me so fucking mad. Like, and I'm not trying to call him out, but when he was on the JRE, he was talking. I don't know who the fuck he was talking to. But he was just like, yeah, all these people that waste their time playing video games, why don't you just master jiu-jitsu, open a school, get 100 students, and you're making so much money? And I'm like, why are you lying?
It's just that easy. Right?
It's not that you're – I don't even think it's that you're dumb. I think it's you're lying, because there's no way you could be as into jiu-jitsu as you are and think that's how it is and think that it's just so easy to run a school and that people are just going to sign up and stay forever.
You know, when you look at, again, the current climate of the world, it's frightening on top of that, because you start to think about, wow, are people just going to be rushing into jiu-jitsu schools like they have in the past? Are they going to have the funds to be able to afford to pay those dues and come into gyms? And when you start having not as many gyms open, you start having not as many people going to classes. Now we don't have as much to talk about, and the whole vibe of jiu-jitsu starts to fall away, man. It's scary for me,
man. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it looks like.
Hopefully we can figure this COVID shit out soon. I believe in my heart of hearts, and I still rest on this idea that, you know, I hate to say it, and I hate in all of my being to give Ron DeSantos a nod, because he's not my favorite person. But if you look at Florida as a test market, you know, maybe they did a pretty good thing. Maybe, I mean, I just don't see dead bodies stacked in the streets. I don't see this cataclysmic, humanity-ending pathogen that the medical facilities might have anticipated, or medical experts might have anticipated in the beginning stages. And maybe it's time to just start saying, hey, you know what? Be careful. Wear your masks. You know what I mean? Like, when you can use caution, wash your hands, take care of yourself. But we need to start getting life back to normal again and start going back out to eat at restaurants and going back out to do things, because if not, the economy is just going to fucking collapse on itself.
I mean, I don't know. I like my mask. I like how it makes me feel, man.
Well, you don't get to talk to people. You're like Batman. You're like,
exactly.
Batman.
No, I mean,
speaking of Batman,
you know what? I'll fucking out myself. When I'm working produce, they're really big on you can't chew gum. But because of the mask, I've been able to chew gum my entire job.
Nice. Have you seen the new Batman trailer with Robert Pattinson?
Yeah. It looks pretty good. And I wasn't
a big fan of the emo eye makeup on Pattinson. I understand how they're trying to play that into, well, he puts the eye makeup on to do the Batman thing, but when he's got his face off, and
when it's just him, it looks
like come on, we know what you're doing.
I'm like,
you don't have
oh man,
to do that.
dude, like that guy's got to work at Hot Topic, right? Like,
right.
I want to be like, excuse me, where can I get my Jack Skellington hoodie? My old one's got holes in it.
That's great.
I would want holes in it. My current one doesn't have holes in it. Where can I get one with holes in it?
I based upon the trailer, it looked like it might be. I was happy. I'm excited to see where they go with that. It looked pretty good.
I love the fact that for years now, Batman has used this, like since Nolan. Batman, they brought in these two like bro self-defense guys on the Batman Begins and the Dark Knight, and they basically created this like weird self-defense system. And they were
upon the whatever the sex that he was in, stemma or whatever. Yeah,
I don't know, but like it was like he's got his hands up like this the whole time, like Muay Thai, but they're out.
Yeah,
and it's just like this is what he would use, and it was still early enough in martial arts, I guess, that
you could get away with that.
Able to just get away with it, and they didn't just like let's ask any jiu-jitsu guy, let's ask any Muay Thai guy what this would look like. I don't know. All right, let's cover some good things before we get into it. I do want to talk about Third Coast grappling.
Yeah, that was that fiasco. But we get to that. Yeah, this is exciting. This is
Gordon versus Matteos. What do you like? I love this. I really do love this matchup.
Matteos is good.
Matteos is really good. I've never seen a picture of him where he didn't look so happy. Like he's got a great smile. Gordon's trying to mean mug all the time. Matteos is just like, hey man, I'm very photogenic. So I
don't even think Gordon tries to mean mug. I think that's just his face. I think just the way he looks. I think that's just like
I mean, he was like earlier I feel like it was earlier in the month. He's like, this dumb lady asked for money on the side of the road, and she has different hair than the last time I saw her. So where are you getting the money for that? And I'm like, just leave the homeless people alone, Gordon. Yeah,
Gordon, I love you, buddy. Let's talk about
a lifted truck. Like it does nothing to you.
Right, exactly. It's not helping. It's not helping. It's only hurting you at this point. But Gordon is Gordon, and there's nothing we can do. You're either gonna love the fact that he's the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world, or you're gonna hate the fact that he's politics are
well, I mean, I don't know. Like this matchup, Matteos, ADCC champion.
Yep.
He's coming into this with a lot of people hoping he wins.
Yeah. The only thing that I would say the X factor, and we could talk a little bit more about it, is Gordon's just going to be bigger. Gordon's just going to be a bigger guy than Matteos is. Matteos will probably come in. I mean, he won the under 88 under 88 kilogram at ADCC, so it's about 185. So even blown up, he'll be maybe 198, 200-ish or something like that. I think 192 is actually the cutoff for under 88. I forget what the kilograms are, somewhere around that area. But Gordon's going to be huge. He's a heavyweight. He's going to be all of 215, 220 pounds when he comes into this. So that size and strength will have an advantage, typically because Matteos' style is definitely a power jiu-jitsu style. He's definitely going to grind out with you. He's definitely going to freaking be explosive and powerful, and everything's going to be hard movements. That's that Marcelo Garcia style that they train over there. And it won't work out well against the size of Gordon Ryan, I'm afraid.
But what's weird is that they're about the same height. I think Matteos is 6, Gordon's 6'2". So it's not like I don't know.
Gordon's a little bit taller. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gordon's a little bit taller. He's 6'2".
Yeah, I mean, so like he's a little taller. Yeah.
That 2 inches makes a big difference.
Yeah.
It's 2 inches of freaking like meat too. It's not just 2 inches of height; it's 2 inches of extra like girth and muscle in those freaking.
Hang on one sec. Maybe it's just the way that they're standing, but like let's just like zoom in. Look at the difference in their traps. Like just look at that.
I mean, Matteos is a specimen. Don't get it twisted.
Well, I mean, I think it's probably just the way he's standing too. But I just thought it looked funny.
He won that division. He won at ADCC. I mean, I think he beat Josh Hanger. He beat Josh Hanger at the Worlds. He beat Josh Hanger in the ADCC. He beat that brown belt phenom kid. I mean, Matteos is definitely a force to be reckoned with in the jiu-jitsu world. It's definitely going to be an exciting match with a lot of action, a lot of good jiu-jitsu. But I want to believe. I just think that Gordon's too good and too big, good and too big.
I think like it might just be because I've been rewatching and rewatching the Last Dance documentary like every day just because I'm obsessed with it. It's such a good documentary.
I want to go watch it again.
Yeah, it's so good. Just like mainly, like I want him to cut up all the parts with Dennis Rodman, just because I love that guy. I love how his mind works. He's like, I'm here, click, I'm here.
Once again, if you watch that documentary and you don't believe that Michael Jordan is not just the greatest basketball player of all time, but probably the greatest athlete of all time, then you're just lost and confused.
Well, yeah, but like in that same vein, you know, when he gets to the top, when he three-peats and he's looking to three-peat again, everyone is gunning for him so hard, and like the media turns on him. You know, he's the media darling, but like solely because of the fact that okay, you've won too much now, it's annoying. Right. We want to see that next person, and I think his politics and opinions on stuff aside, people just want for there to be a changing of the guard. People want there to be a lot of really intense things happening. I don't know if people want one person to dominate for too long. You know, I feel like
that's what makes greatness so great, kid. The fact that once you're there, no one wants you to be there. And everyone wants to come gunning for you. People start to hate you because you're so good. And that's kind of what's happening with Gordon Ryan. People hate him for other reasons too. But that people hate him because he's unbeatable. People hate him because he walks the walk. He talks the talk and he walks the walk.
And that's why they have to everyone that comes at him has to go like, oh, you didn't do this yet. You haven't done the gi. You haven't done this rule set that I just made up 5 minutes ago. And it's like they need to bring him down from that level. And I think that is a terrible way to go because you're never going to win there. The list of people that could really genuinely come up to him and say you haven't done enough, like Marcelo maybe could do that.
Lovato,
Lovato could maybe do
short
that.
List. Yeah, but I still think that, man, if Gordon Ryan dedicated himself to the gi, like he would be just as good as the gi with John Danaher coaching him. He would be in 2 years. He would win it, and he would win it in the gi just as easily as he won it in no gi. He's that type of athlete.
He doesn't want to do the gi so badly that he got sponsored by a gi company, and he made them pay him so much money that when he didn't immediately compete in the gi, they stopped being a company. Like Hypnotic, have you gone to the Hypnotic website?
No.
It's like, hang on one second. I'm gonna try bringing it up here.
Does it say, sorry, Gordon Ryan bankrupted us?
Okay, yeah, it's still there. All right, this is what you look at when you go on their website.
Oh, new umbrella. We know you want to get Hypnotic brand is teaming up with a few other top combat sports brands and moving under a new umbrella. We know you want to get the 2020 line of your favorite brand, but under the current situation with COVID-19, we have delayed the launch of our new line until the summer of 2020. During this time, stay healthy, stay active, be responsible, and stay tuned for future updates.
They're just not around, and that sucks because I like their gis. I have a few. Like I have their hemp one, and I've got like the black
Hypnotic makes a good gi, man.
Yeah, but like they just aren't around, and it's partially his fault.
Yeah. It's definitely there's definitely a piece of Gordon Ryan.
I mean, COVID didn't help.
COVID didn't help. COVID didn't help anything in jiu-jitsu, but still, though, I imagine that a lot of their cushion money that they put away for a rainy day, like COVID, went towards getting Gordon Ryan as a sponsor, thinking he was going to burn up the gi scene, and then he
because he was the turnaround was supposed to be immediate. Like he was supposed to.
There was about 2 years ago, he was pushing hard about going out and conquering the world of gi jiu-jitsu. Gordon Ryan's a very complicated kid. I mean, there's a lot of things about Gordon Ryan that we don't talk about. The fact that he has those mysterious stomach conditions that apparently plague him. So he's constantly kind of thinking about he wants to do MMA, now he's back to jiu-jitsu, now he's back to to wanting to do gi all over the place. And I think part of that is partly because he's just so sick all the time, and people don't realize that. Again, part of what makes him so amazing. Like when he won the absolute and didn't get a point scored on him last year, like his hand was like mauled. Like his hand wasn't even like, his hand was like they showed a picture of it. It was like swelled up like a grapefruit. He couldn't even use his right hand, and he's still dominated. That's how great he is.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy how almost supernaturally like good he is at jiu-jitsu. I don't want to. He's talented, but like talented's a tough one because I don't want to invalidate the effort he's put in. Right. Just to getting good, just because talented kind of seems loaded sometimes because people can use that as a backhanded compliment. Like, oh, you were born with the gifts that got you to where you are, and like, I don't want to imply that at all.
You're born with gifts, but if you don't cultivate that talent and have the work ethic to make those gifts work for you, then you're not, it's not the same. You have to be athletically talented. That's where great. I was just talking to Matt Favola about that today, about what makes him so great is he's born with the gifted attributes, and he also has the work ethic to make those attributes effective. You got to have that combination of two, and Gordon Ryan undoubtedly has both of them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, I feel like this might be just like a quicker one.
Yeah, why not, man? Why not? We'll just pop off the headlines and see where we go.
We have to talk about Ryan. Jesus.
I hate it too because I like both these guys.
And I like all the evidence has been scrubbed. I think it sort of like got buried immediately. But
maybe they got together on.
I don't. And listen. Full disclosure, I like Ryan McGuire a lot. He is more than welcome to come on the show and talk about this. Like, we're not trying to get gotcha or scoop him or do anything
Seth
like
Daniels that. If he ever wants to come on, he's more than welcome to come on too.
Well, Seth has ditched us. Like he's
I don't think I will give Seth the benefit of the doubt.
He's also a very busy guy.
We had a few opportunities and then it didn't work out, materialize. We tried.
That's true. Yeah. So like both of these guys more than welcome to come on the show, but you can tell me if I'm incorrect. Actually, did I screenshot any of the stuff that got said?
I read them all, so I know them all off the top of my head. It was just it was
deleted. Yeah, everything was deleted.
They must have talked to one another and figured out a way to squash it.
Okay, so essentially Ryan posted something about someone was having a match with Seth. And he was like, if anyone rips a neck crank on him and makes him hurt, I'll give him $1,000.
Right.
And this runs against a lot of what he says, which is like all love, no beef.
I know.
It's just Ryan, for someone that says no beef, it is almost every weekend.
I love Ryan, but there is definitely a duplicity to his personality.
Yeah. And I love him to death. He's a great guy. He's offered me a lot. He's helped me in my career a lot because I've gotten the chance to cover some of his shows. I was one of the first people that wrote an article about Third Coast Grappling, and I believe in it. I believe in the promotion, but holy shit, man, you got to stop doing this. Just like fully hand your social media over to someone and give them bullet points as to like
in his defense, I will play devil's advocate and say that Seth Daniels has done quite a bit for the jiu-jitsu community. Right? Fight to Win is definitely a pioneering event for professional grappling. And he is very deserving of the place at the table that he has been given with Mo Jessup and the ADCC and all the things he's done through Flow Grappling, all the things he's done to help make professional jiu-jitsu what it is today. But man, damn, Seth, I love you, buddy, but your head is just like he picks fights unnecessarily that drives divisions between promotions at a time when, dude, like, why are we doing this? And maybe he has some issues with Ryan McGuire. I imagine that I'm not privy to all of the information behind closed doors, and I'm sure we're not getting the full story from Ryan because he's a promoter. That's his job. But in Ryan's defense, I know for a fact that Seth Daniels has publicly trash many of his shows.
Yes.
Constantly wants to scream from the rooftops that fight to win is the greatest thing to ever happen to professional jiu-jitsu, which it might be. But like, there's a saying in Brazilian and Portuguese, and I don't know the exact saying, but my buddy told it to me one time. It's something about when the tide rises, all the ships go up too, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So, like, did you want Three Court Coach Grappling to be successful? Because it makes your promotion more successful. It brings more eyes to jiu-jitsu.
I think that the only difference that I would say, because I agree with all of that, but the difference here is that Seth, to my knowledge, at no point has ever sold himself on being a peace, love, kumbaya guy. He has openly been like, you know, my shit's the best, like,
right,
beat it, nerds. Like,
yeah, exactly. You guys,
he wrote a story for us about how great steroids are.
Yeah, I'm the greatest, and everyone else is
that is like what he's put out there, so that we can honestly, like, we might disagree with him, but we can't say that he's not selling what he's promising.
That's who he is, and that's his personality. I will just say this, that it's kind of off-putting sometimes, and it makes people where he thinks it's building the sport. It makes people what's this shit? And who is it? Like the only thing I could think of when I saw, and I wrote an article about this too a couple weeks ago. I wrote the article for Aces about this current state of professional jiu-jitsu. And like, you know my feelings of professional jiu-jitsu. As much as I love to watch matches, I'm still just like, and so every time I see these cocky athletes and all the guys and everything that's involved in it, I just go, and when I see two of the sport's leading promoters having like a fucking, what the fuck are you guys talking about, bitch fest with one another about like, I'll kick your ass, meet me in the parking lot, you're a pussy, you're no good. Like, what in the hell is this shit? It makes, like, the kids dig it. I guess the kids dig it. But we want to build jiu-jitsu. We want to build something better, man. We want to build something that attracts more than just the exploding in your face headline fucking culture. You know what I mean? Here and now, big hype culture. Like, it's off-putting to me, and it's off-putting to so many people to see that shit. I wish these guys would just quit doing that shit and grow up. That's just my opinion.
That they feel like if they were fully, and this is going to sound, if they were fully in this for selfless reasons, then I might agree with you. But they're also business owners. They're also, capitalists. They're trying to go out there and get as much of the pie as they can, and there's room for generosity there. There is. And I think every athlete I've known that's dealt with Fight to Win that has competed there has said that Seth is a fine, like a very cool guy.
He is. I've competed on that card many times. A good dude, man.
Genuine guy, no problems there. But you also got you got to be a little gangster. It's a gangster business. You can't have, you got to be a bulldog sometimes, and I get that. But yeah.
I wrote a little something. When I wrote that, I had a good little piece that I put in the little thing, and it's a cool little quote if I could find it. But it was something along the lines of like when the idea of having drama and having all of these hyped up things to kind of sell a fight. I get that. I know you got to do that. And maybe I'm naive. Maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Maybe that's part of the deal, and you got to be able to sell this shit with all these things. But like gimmicks like that are very short-lived. That's a very shallow well or something like that is what I wrote in the article. Like when you go for those gimmicks, like, yeah, you're going to get some attention in the here and now, but you got to keep popping those gimmicks up to keep things going. The reality of it is when you put together a solid promotion that continues to crank on in and out and on and on and on and makes things work for the better, and you put out a great product consistently, that's what sells for the long time. And to be honest with you, as much as I love Fight to Win, I still think I'm not a big fan of the scoring. I'm not a big fan of the platform, of the way it's put together. I love Seth. I think they do a great job. I think they've done a lot to put exposure for big athletes. But when you watch a Fight to Win match, half the time when you get done with it, unless there's submission, you're like, what in the fuck? Like, who won this thing? How the hell did that happen? And I guess that's part of the point. But it's hard. Like, me and you understand jiu-jitsu. I couldn't imagine being someone that doesn't know jiu-jitsu watching that. So it's not growing the sport. It's good for us because we dig jiu-jitsu, but it's not bringing in people from the outside to really
for all of the possible reasons he keeps doing it. You do have to admire Eddie Bravo repeatedly making new rule sets. Yeah. And there's the meme is that like, oh, his fighters keep losing, so he keeps making not losing, but just like getting outclassed by certain guys from certain schools. And so he wants to provide a platform for his guys to be the number one guys. That's fine. I don't know if that's true. Also, I think he could just be a guy that wants to keep innovating, wants to keep pushing the envelope. He thought EBI hit a home run. Combat Jiu-Jitsu, unless you're Austin, who we had on last episode, you maybe have mixed feelings about it, because it didn't do as well. And now we got overtime. These are different rule sets, and there are 100%. There are people that gravitate to one of them over the other. So he is reaching different people. I think so many different rule sets maybe confuses people. Just because if you explain baseball or football to someone once, you basically can understand the whole sport. Just because like there's not a lot of variations that matter for the general person. Like, you got to change the rules a little bit when you go to Canadian football because I think the field is smaller or something, or like maybe there's like different rules for different things. But jiu-jitsu, there's so many different rule sets. And that's like the number one thing we've been talking about the last few episodes. It's just confusing.
Where the hell are we with this thing? We still haven't really come up with the right answer. And that's why I hate to say it. I will continue to support professional jiu-jitsu because I love it, because I love jiu-jitsu. If I can compete on one, cool. If I can get guys that train under me, guys that I know that have been on a sport, use my influence, whatever it is, to get people to compete on those sports, I will. But my opinion on professional jiu-jitsu anymore is that's just, I can't. I wish that I felt better about it. I wish that I did, and that's just where I'm at with it. I'm just kind of over the whole fucking thing, to tell you the truth. EBI did the best though, and I really like submission underground, and I don't care what anybody says because I think Chael sells it. He understands how to reach the market at home, people at home watching that don't know jiu-jitsu. You got short 5-minute matches. Is it the best display of jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu heads? Probably not. But those 5-minute matches, take it quick, and then you have an overtime. You know who won. Who won because you put your damn hand up. And
the only people I've met that are really against submission underground are like the super purists. Right. And this is not, and if they're watching, you know who you are. But they either don't like Chael, they think he's an asshole, which he asks for that a lot. So you can't really say anything to that. But he's also open about it. You know what you're getting. 2, they don't like the fact that it's MMA fighters and jiu-jitsu guys. They don't think those are matchups that really matter. And they don't like the cage. They think it's trying to – a lot of people view the separation that's happened between jiu-jitsu and MMA, how they used to be in the beginning, completely intertwined. Like it was in the DNA. And over the years, it's sort of diverged a little bit. So now jiu-jitsu is more its own thing. MMA is more its own thing. They're very closely linked still, but like there's a lot of distance between them that wasn't there. And they look at the cage being there as like, oh, you're trying to get us back into where we were, but that's not good, And
I would agree with getting rid of the cage. I don't think you need the cage. But what jiu-jitsu heads don't understand is again, like, jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu people is different for jiu-jitsu as something that will be marketable to the masses. And marketable to the masses is what I think about when you think about making an event professional, when you think about having legitimate professional athletes that are really making a living at a larger scale, fighting for a professional organization. It has to be more than just local jiu-jitsu dudes watching it, because it's never going to pay the fucking bills. You got to have people outside excited about what's happening, and you have to have an exciting, fast, action-packed rule set in a 10-minute match even submission only is like watching paint dry, to be perfectly honest with you, most of the time, because there's a lot of small things that people that know jiu-jitsu can pick up on, the nuanced approaches, the slow progressions, the pressure. When you have a 5-minute match, you have to push the pace because you know you only got 5 minutes left and you don't want to go to overtime because who knows, it's a coin flip, right? And Chael's awesome. Chael, he just, but he's got this arm thing there, and the folks at home eat that shit up.
I was training in the gi one day with one of my buddies, and someone wanted to give me a high five during the roll. That's when I realized tag team is the future.
There it is. There it is. That's to roll it back a little bit. That's what Seth Daniels is doing. They're doing like I don't even know. There's a three. Yeah, it's like a three-person team subversive some shit. I don't even know. I saw ads for it. I didn't even know it was coming up. Again, another variation in the ever-evolving variations of jiu-jitsu matches, just to give us something else to be like, what in the fuck is this, man?
So far, I think the only people that have done team stuff in a way that's gotten me to give a shit about it is Quintet. I feel like they throw in fun. Quintet. I mean, is it still? Did it have? When was the last time we had a quintet? Is it like not a thing anymore?
Over a year. They kind of. I think they're kind of.
Gordon was that was the Gordon show, right? When he just was on Team Alpha Male and he just did the whole.
Was that the last one he did where he beat Josh Barnett? There was one before that.
No, I think the last one was when they did like different fight promotions, like UFC, Pride, WEC,
10th Planet.
Yeah. Maybe like it was like fight, I think it was like fight promotions, like people that used to.
Yeah, they did like international teams too. They did like Team Russia, I think they did, and Team USA. I don't remember off the top of my head, but you're right along. It was something along those lines. But Quintet is fun again because it has it's all production value. It's got guys in the same uniforms. They're fighting for the same team. There's drama. There's shorter matches. They're only 5-minute matches. They went really fast. There's rules and stipulations. Well, if he wins, he continues going. If he loses, you go into the next guy, and so on and so forth. Like people that don't understand the nuances of jiu-jitsu technique, you give them some kind of rule format to follow, and they can at least hold on to that.
Okay, yeah. The last quintet was the Team UFC, Team Strikeforce, Team WEC, like it was Quintet Ultra. It was in December of last year, so so
we're coming up on a year now.
Yeah, it's going to be a year, and I feel like the rates of them were, they did a bunch of them all within 2019. So I fully get putting things on hold, just given the level of how many international people compete at these. Why they would put it on hold, but let's bring back Quintet. I love those.
I like it. Long story short, the moral of the story here is promoters, come on, man, get your
come on,
Jesus Christ, come on, Seth, Ryan, let's act like grown-ups.
Ryan, I love you, but Ryan, pay me to tweet for you. Yeah, I'll do it.
It makes people just go, come on, man, what are we doing, guys? Why are we doing this for? That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Seth, if he even sees this, he'll tell me to go fuck myself. He probably won't. He's too big.
He just text you like, "I'll beat the shit out of you, Gallagher."
He's big time now. He don't talk to me.
Could you take him though?
I don't talk. We will not discuss that. We don't want to discuss that. I would be more than happy to compete against him on the big stage. I wouldn't want him to foot sweep me though, because I've seen the horrors of that foot sweep. But I'm a nut, Kevin. I don't give a shit who you are. Gi, no gi, I'll go against anybody. I'm crazy in the regard that like I really believe I can beat anybody. I'm not always right.
Give me Calabib, Nurmagomedov.
Calabib, Naga.
I'm just like, oh, Kevin, I don't know if I know he knows how to pronounce it, but I got to mispronounce it.
That was a very good Kevin Gallagher impersonation, by the way. There's people that do very good Kevin Gallagher impersonations, but they don't allow them. We're going to have Matt Arroyo on, and we're going to make him do a Kevin Gallagher impersonation live on air because he apparently does a very good one.
Oh boy, I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, that's we got some good guests coming up. We got Matt Favolo next week.
We got Matt Favolo. We got Nick the Tooth agreed to come on, which is I'm really excited about that.
Chris Howder.
Yeah,
how you say his last name. He's coming up next next Tuesday or next Thursday,
and
next Friday.
In 50 more episodes, maybe we can pull enough strings to get Kit back on. Like
make him sit through, like uncomfortably, nervously twitch through another hour-long episode.
Oh my god, I love him so much. Kit, we love you, man. Yeah, all right. Well, this has been another episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast. I've been your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Gallagher. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time. I keep trying out different like ways to end the show, and I'm never sure if I did a good job. And I always think I'm going to stick to one, and I never do.
Well, I will tell you this, Kevin, no matter what you do, it's always better than what I do when I open and close the show.
You did fine. You did great.
Whenever I'm solo, whenever I have to do the open, I'm always like, oh God, I wish fucking Kevin was here. I don't know what to say. Like, it's the Jiu-Jitsu Times.
Hey everybody, I'm fucking Kevin Gallagher, man.
But I can't pronounce his name. I did absolutely zero research to find out anything about him. I really wish Kevin was here.
So yeah, dude, the chicks love it.
Oh, we're on.
We're
live. Hey now.
All right. Well,
folks.
Let us stick with stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Yeah.